Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes, get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Today, I am going off to the job that puts the roof over my head in the moment. Grateful to have that job to remind me that I am human. And as a human, that I have something to ground myself in when I get a little bit heady, when I'm taking in the lessons. I think I've never had this conversation before about sharing my journey. Lots of people, they come in and, they offer up the lessons, but they offer up the lessons and in their insecurities and in their lack of confidence of handing out the lessons, right? I didn't get it right. I should have said it this way. I should have had a cheat sheet with everything checked off so that I could just make sure that I get everything perfect. I just want to make sure that everybody understands here that I am truly, truly sharing my journey. I woke up as a blank slate, right? And I went straight to work in finding answers for myself and not only searching out answers for myself, but believing in those instant knowings that, that I had in the moment, that I had to be able to understand truths for myself, those truths that somehow disappeared, and I'm being asked to absorb them into my system as truths, right? I didn't need to be knocked upside the head in those understandings. I only had to use those understandings as beacons in those questions that I did have, right? Those are the checkpoints, those are the cheat sheets for me in searching out my lessons. And, I want to make sure that everybody understands that, you know, I am human. I am also something absolutely spectacular for myself, right? And as I go deeper, deeper in the lessons, I can see how I could easily lose people who haven't even taken in some of those, well, those things that we're being asked to in the moment to absorb as truths. And sometimes we don't even get past that point. And here I'm finding myself going off into topics and lessons and understandings that in this moment, because they're so fresh and new, are so beyond my understanding. But because of those small truths that I've absorbed into my lessons, I understand these are the lighthouses. These are the beacons. These are the follow me's that I find myself, right, being led into that I know for my own well being, right? My only hope in this story, this, call it a journey, right? Seems kind of hokey doing that because in the lessons, in those answers that I search out, you hear life's a journey, but it truly is a journey. And I am so grateful that that journey offers up experiences and lessons for me that in my own choices, I can choose to take it on. Or, right, I could say, oh, that's enough for this lifetime. Enough for this lifetime. I don't want to go so far and so deep that nobody gets me. And here's the kicker, that I can't reach that target audience. And who is that target audience? that target audience is me. That target audience is that person who lived their entire lives, possibly, right? Up until the point you are now. So whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, right? To be able to start getting to work. I do believe, because I believe that other parts of us are going to be reinstalled, reincarnated, resurfaced, have an opportunity to be realized again in someone down the road. And how great is it to look at myself now and have those lessons and that tool belt that I have, and in my belief, recognize that, oh my goodness, that there are parts of me that are now better, right? Better than where they were. Possibly, they were never allowed to, right? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. In my family, me and my three sisters, the four of us girls, we're all in our 50s at the least. I'm 62. That was not a commonality in past generations. For the most part, 30s, 40s, a lot of heart disease, a lot of congenital heart disease, a lot of emotional and mental problems, right? And maybe it was a lot of emotional problems that others, right, just assumed were mental issues. And again, we got trapped and we got lost in other people's projections. Maybe we were locked up in asylums. Maybe we were kept in our own homes and not allowed to explore and expand outside of us. I have no idea. But I am my target audience because I came in a blank. I came out a blank. And where I come out of this, that's going to be in my choices. I've recognized, right, some new content being suggested to me. And that content offered up knowings, understandings, truths for me. So I find myself compelled in my experience, and this is the word that we have this week, to move forward with that. And because of the brand and because of my, right, my want, and that desire to help others, right? Not get stuck in where I got stuck or where my father got stuck or my grandpa, who knows how many generations backwards, right? That I have to go to, right? Recognize where we got things wrong. It is in my optimistic, right? Interesting, curious, creative, right? Hyper vigilant. All these personalities that are humanistic traits of myself, that in this lifetime they've surfaced. And because they've surfaced, it has allowed me to let some of those curiosities take hold and take me places where I may have never, ever been before, right? Never been before. And I'm moving. I'm moving with that because I've seen in the evidence of my own life that it is only in that decision making of Cindy that we are going to go forward, right? But I have to put it straight here. In one of those best lessons that I have ever heard, that have ever impacted me, or we said yesterday, that wrecking ball that just right upside the head. You know, that truth, and this is not mine, this belongs to Evan Carmichael, right? This is, maybe he didn't even get it, right? Maybe it was an expression of somebody else's ideas or somebody else's lessons, but it doesn't matter, right? He was able to get that lesson to me, right? To make it a truth for myself, to be that wrecking ball that slapped me upside the head and woke me up to, oh my goodness, that's what happened to me, right? It was this idea that that person, and I'm going to phrase it a little bit differently because of the way I absorbed it, but that person who was supposed to discover the cure for cancer, right? That person who was meant to surface and discover the cure for cancer will never discover the cure for cancer because that person woke up to different ideas. That person woke up to their limitations or projections or understandings, right? That were to the level of what came before them, right? And they are working at McDonald's. They're working at McDonald's and they will never have that opportunity to move themselves forward enough to be able to have that desire to give back, to provide service, to become a caregiver, or to become that doctor or surgeon or scientist that makes up that opportunity to discover that cure for cancer. That was me. I do believe that was me because I see in the evidence of where I am right now. How could I have offered up any of these lessons? How could I have brought any of this to the table without that prerequisite, without that experience, without that lesson, without that adventure, without that guidance, without that mentorship, without bumping into these amazing characters with these amazing insights and these amazing truths that I so could easily have missed. This is my idea, right? Maybe I'm on the wrong track, but, right? In the evidence that I am bringing to the table, and I'm not looking to cure cancer, right? But I am looking to maybe help that person who got lost, or maybe that person who lost faith of themselves, or maybe that person who was so stuck in their limiting beliefs, or that person that we talked yesterday of, right? They're under somebody else's thumb and have been brought up in somebody else's ideas of the way the world works, right? Or that person who has been, right, just brought along in somebody else's journey and, right, is just meant to help lift somebody else up. Grateful that I have been a spectator. I am grateful that I have been a student because it has offered up the most amazing, amazing, amazing lessons. And these are lessons that, right, if I had lived 100 years earlier, they would not have come across my path. Even though these lessons were here, they would never have come across my path, right? Even 30, 50 years ago, right? Possibly they might not have ever come across my path. I'm saying possibly because if it was important for me to wake up to these ideas, maybe in that direction and in that creativity, they might have come across those lessons and those experiences and those relationships, right? And those mentors, those teachers might have come across my path in a different way, in a different route. But would have I chomped onto it, right? Right? I was sitting as a lesson in, right, what I was focused on in the moment. And I was focused on somebody offering up a lesson. And when they offered up the lesson, because my eyeballs and my intention were on it, it was able to seep into me a little bit. Like I said, I'm not looking to cure cancer. I was just looking to make a little bit of movement. I was just looking for solutions in all truth. But a lesson came across my path and I bit onto it, right? I bit into it. And when I bit into it, that lesson opened me up to the next lesson and the next lesson and the next lesson. And that person who's working at McDonald's who might not ever, right? Might not ever discover what they were truly meant to be or truly meant to do in their lifetime, right? And they're not ever going to have that experience because, right? Is McDonald's going to offer up that experience for them? But because in this lifetime, in their limiting beliefs, in their fears, in that lack of lessons coming across their path, in those projections, and in that, right? This is your place, right? I'm offering you a chance to come and hang out with me, right? You can lift me up and, right? Maybe I'll teach you a few things. That's okay there, right? It's what reminds me is the Karate Kid, right? When his mentor right off the hop says, "Oh, I'll go clean my car," start buffing it. He got a nice clean car, but there were lessons in cleaning that car, in shining that car. So it's okay to put people to work in the lessons, right? I have no problems in putting in that effort and putting in that energy and being that student and putting that work in. I have no problem with that, right? But what if there was no lesson in that person saying, "Go buff my car, go shine my car," right? And you go buff and shine that car, right? And then your career becomes the car wash guy, right? The car wash guy. That's how it was meant, I do believe, for me to lift somebody else. But because of my curiosity, because in this lifetime, Cindy had a curious mind, that she questioned everything, that she was so eager to have those whys answered, that she, right, not expressing herself, just sat there, right, did what she was told, became the spectator, endured what she had to do, stayed the spectator, stayed the student, right? And then have a click, right? Have a click. And oh my goodness, what a click that was. What a click that was. What a click that is. What an opportunity to make some movement. And the only reason that happened, in all truth, is because I recognized my father in that experience, in that truth, right? It was like somebody saying, "I second that." And I'm going, "Oh my goodness, my dad put that out there to the world," right? And somebody is just second that understanding, right? There's got to be something to that. My desire to wake people up, right? To the potentials of what they could be if they really set their mind to it, if they really have that desire to have some of those questions answered for themselves, right? That each one of us in our choices, right? Like I said, I could stop right now and say, "Oh, good enough." In actuality, some of it seems quite comfortable. And I can feel that other thing, right? The angel and the devil on my shoulder going, "Oh, good enough, Cindy. Good enough. Don't get so beyond yourself that nobody understands what you're trying to get across." And click. That's the last thing I want. I want everybody to understand where I'm coming from, right? The lessons I'm trying to bring to the table, right? I'm bringing lessons to the table now. Oh my goodness, the lessons aren't being brought to me, but I'm actually being a participant now. And once I get to that point, right? And I was taught this too, you can always start teaching, what you've learned in that, and where you've now become somebody with that knowledge. And I'm going to send some good cheer out to the paramedics and the fire trucks on their way to hopefully, optimistically, a false alarm, and that they could turn around and head right back to the station, and they are parking right in front of my building. So really, let's send some good cheer. Let's hope that everything is okay and they are on their way right away. So today, in my experience, is to compound that idea that even though I'm showing up fresh like a loaf of bread, right? Even though that I'm coming here with the lessons that I've come across in my travels, right? In my movement, it's not in a way to say this is the truth, that this is the way it is, because I'm an individual, because of the recipes in my life, because of those projections and upbringings and limiting beliefs, right? I need to take the lessons in a little bit differently. My beliefs are a little bit different, right? But the lessons are still serving. They're still serving. So maybe, right, this might hit you perfectly and you go, oh my goodness, this is the truth for me. And maybe we'll walk that path together for a little while. But maybe, right, because I go deeper, deeper into the lessons, and I'll always, right, I will always be here in that first step into it. It's important for me. And it, right, and I'm so grateful that, in my lack of belief, because that's what it was a lack of belief. In that lack of belief, I found mindset, right? I didn't find Buddha, I didn't find Jesus, didn't find, right, anything. Hare Krishna's, I don't know, right? I found mindset because it was so human for me, right? Because I was so unsure of myself that, right? And plus, I was very steadfast in my humanness and in some of my ideas, that I had to believe in something. I wanted to believe in something that was true for me. And in those realistic, because mindset is a very realistic belief. But again, right? There's still lessons in that, still lessons in what people don't believe, right? Because people don't believe in the truth, and that's the truth. So I was that person, right? You couldn't beat me over the head with some of these lessons that I'm taking in, and I would not have believed them. I would, oh, okay, right. Well, teach their own, right? That was my nature. I would have given them that space because I come from that. My mother was a Christian. My father was very spiritual, and they were very, very strong in their beliefs, but only to the extent of the lessons that they had received, because they were just as much stuck in their limiting beliefs as I was, right? I only got as far as they did. And it is in my optimistic, right, humanness that, right, I want to go a lot further. I do not want to step into the same kind. I'm not saying those other parts of me do not want to step into the same kind of doo doo that they've been coming into probably for lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes, right? These lessons are so important, right? But I want to reach my target audience. And my target audience is the person I was. The person I was when I first stepped into it, totally blank to these ideas. That's my target audience. And I'm going to serve those lessons, right? Even though I'm moving forward with deeper lessons and maybe in different understandings and different beliefs because I'm more solidified in my mindset, but mindset is what brought me in, right? Right? Mindset is a very human believability. It is a baseline of morals that I wish I had. I wish it had been offered up to me, right? It was, in a sense, because, right, we lived by, my father was a spiritual person. My father practiced uh, mindset. And maybe my father wasn't even a spiritual person. He was a spiritual person, but maybe he didn't recognize himself as a spiritual person, right? Because he was human above anything else, and he wanted to be human above anything else. And so he looked in his beliefs for the most realistic for himself, right? Way of being able to digest these kind of lessons that might have been a little bit hard to digest, right? They were hard to digest. Lots of them were hard to digest. But once they were digested, man, they settled in well, right? They settled in a way that I could go out into the world and in this digital age being offered up an opportunity to choose my own mentors, to recognize that, right, I had some of the greatest mentors I probably ever could wish for Cindy, right? That next human being that comes along, right? Might be a Buddha, might be, right, Christian, right? Or whatever, right, religion they have grown up to. But those lessons might possibly be easier to digest if we had a common base of values, right? That we can move forward as humans and not let the human part of us interfere with the lessons that we need to take in, right? In our evolution. This is, uh, yeah, it's important for me to stay with my humanness, to be able to enjoy this magnificent life that I get to create for myself. And I'm not stopping in that, but maybe it won't be recognized, right, by others because I'll be holding some of those lessons a little bit closer to me because those lessons might be too deep, right? Too deep for that target audience of mine, right? That target audience, which was meant to go forward and far, right? Which is my intent, but just somehow got stuck, right? Got stuck in place. And sometimes, right, I'm going to say we just need a good boot in the butt. Sometimes it's in those small kindnesses. But for me, just like the way that I recognized the lessons because I recognized my father's stage in his evolution, that, right, I recognized them and I knew where he was working, how he came in, and I saw the evidence in him in where, hello, Nancy. I recognized in him how far he was able to move forward, only in the comparison into how far his brother got, right? Who by his own hand passed away and didn't get to move forward in his lessons. His mother, who didn't get to live and experience possibly the life that she was deserving of, and to be able to pass those, she must have been able to pass those lessons along for my father to get to the state that he did, right? And it is in my hopes, right, that we're just going to carry on, right? We're just going to carry on. And so, you know, I'm going to change in that process. I am going to change in that process. But because of where my target audience is, right? That's my target audience. I'm on a rescue mission, right? That's how I look at it. I'm at a rescue mission. But I have to remember that there are people that are at my level who don't have some of these lessons that I have and are struggling, right, in their own movement because that lesson didn't get to them, right? That piece of mindset or that experience that they had in their, well, or they didn't have in their life that I possibly may have had in my life, that they didn't got an opportunity to wake up to some of those ideas. I'm just looking at the clock right now. I truly got to run off or I'm going to miss a bus. You guys have a great day. Seriously, I don't mean to end it like that. I got into a flow. I'll come back in and I'll take my lesson for myself. Nancy, thank you so much for popping in. Thank you for the hearts and the flowers, and yeah, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Everybody, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.